The fourth agenda focuses on the revitalization of downtown. Voters want to know what the candidates' plans are to address crime, negative perceptions, and strategies to bring vitality back to downtown St. Louis.
Hi, my name is Ron Crooks. I live in the Central West End. I think we have to understand that and agree that there is a critical lack of momentum in the single most important demonstration of a city's viability, and that is our downtown. We've got to be asking ourselves some hard questions about this and really look into whether or not we're doing everything we can to build a downtown that is attractive to business and to residents and potential residents and tourism. There simply must be a plan to improve both the reality and the perception of St. Louis's downtown viability to these strategically important audiences.
So 10 years ago, I think it feels to a lot of residents that downtown felt like a more desirable neighborhood than it does today. What do you think happened to that momentum? And is there something the mayor can do to help ensure that people want to live there, want to work there?
Well, I think the biggest thing that happened in that 10-year period was the global pandemic that we all went through that emptied our downtowns across the country. And so we are seeing conversions of office buildings into residential. We've seen that even with the old Laclede Gas building, which is now a residential high-rise. We are working with our partners at Greater St. Louis, Inc. and SLDC to address some of the largest buildings that have been vacant for decades. The Railway Exchange building, where people know as the old Famous and Bar or Macy's, and the Millennium Hotel. Back in September, I issued a call to action, or was it May? I issued a call to action to SLDC and GSL to bring me a plan within 90 days. They did so, and we have acquired the Millennium Hotel from the owners who were in Singapore. And also, we are in the last stages of eminent domain on the Railway Exchange building. And we're going to redevelop both of those sites. We're also doing streetscape improvements to connect Ballpark Village to the Convention Center on 7th Street. So all of that construction should be done by the spring or summer. We see reactivation in our public places through Keener Plaza and the events that we have there. So GSL has been a great partner in bringing people downtown, and our goal is to make downtown the cultural and cultural hub of our region, to make it vibrant and beautiful and active. We want people to choose downtown to not only for sports, but we also have a retail incentive going to attract more retail downtown. So these plans are going, it's just that people don't see them, but a lot of things are going on behind the scenes.
We look at what's happening within the city of St. Louis, and again, it was a detriment to me saying I was the plan man, but I understood it and know that in order to get things done, you must center it on those particular plans. This is reason downtown St. Louis is boarded up, or things are going the way that they are going, because people didn't feel safe at all, and you can't do anything without the safety. That's number one. But your plan has to be broad enough where you can attract those businesses that are necessary to be the lifeblood of the city of St. Louis, and you don't have to depend on windfalls from Rams money or ARPA money, things of that nature. We'll have continuous economic development because of the income that comes in from the taxes from those businesses. And we also have, under the economic development plans, you also have a retention program. I talk to businesses throughout the city of St. Louis, downtown St. Louis. No one's there talking to them to see what it is that they need to broker a deal, so to speak, where we can keep them there, we can keep them satisfied. And once that's taken care of, you can also attract those businesses that will come here And I have a deep Rolodex of all of those types of businesses who are considering St. Louis. And we've always talked about St. Louis has the ways. They have the ways. They have the airways. They have the waterways. They have the highways, and they have the railways. We have everything that says St. Louis is a beautiful city. St. Louis is open for business. But if we don't utilize it and we don't plan on utilizing it, we're going to fail, and it's going to be our fault that we didn't do so.
So developers haven't really been sort of banging down our doorstep, eager to take on some of these big projects downtown. Do you think the city needs to do a better job of luring developers here? And do you think big tax breaks are appropriate if they can get downtown moving, if they can take over a block, do something big down there?
I think on a case-by-case basis, we determine whether tax breaks or TIF is available. We are definitely in a situation where we can't lose, or we have to deploy every possible tax incentive that we can. So yes, I do think that those are necessary. But most importantly, I think I would like those to be consumer-based. I would like that those tax breaks and any incentive that we give can be passed on to the consumer to make downtown more affordable and make downtown more attractive. So I'm not going to be just focused on developers. There's plenty of vacancy in our existing buildings that we can just spur folks to move downtown without developing something new.
So you would do things like tax districts where the revenue they generate then helps pay for the building? Is that what you mean by consumer-based?
I'm thinking more consumer-based, like rent abatement. And I've heard a lot of talk about rent control in the St. Louis region, and it's something that's happened in other areas. Like rent is a big deal to folks nowadays, and as St. Louis as we increase population, rents will go up downtown. So we got to make sure that it stays affordable and that we're marketing as a place that's affordable and easy living. And we can't do that if rents start to go up and then people start to move out. So I'm thinking long term.
That feels like one thing that developers hate. Are you worried that if you try to tackle the affordability of housing there, that the kind of people we need to invest are going to run for the hills?
Well, I think that developers will have the right incentive for us to make that happen. I know that developers are looking at the most possible profit, and it's up as government to be a check on that. And our goal is to get the most possible population and not the most possible profit for a developer.
And there are some really impressive things going on downtown. The soccer stadium. What's happening on Laclede's Landing is really, really impressive. But we have a lot of challenges. I'm lucky enough to have stepped into the 8th Ward, which includes a portion of downtown. And one of the first things I did, Sarah, was issue eminent domain for the city's largest building, the Railway Exchange building. We did that over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, actually, passed that through the Board of Aldermen. And it's been really disappointing to see the administration sit on it for over a year and finally move forward with eminent domain without a developer lined up, by the way, which I think is a huge mistake for the city. The issuing of eminent domain really could have been more effective if we put out a call to developers and had them lined up. But I think we have to focus on downtown and we have to be bullish. Issuing my statements related to the Millennium and the threat of eminent domain on that building really spurred the developers, the owners of the building, to not only come to St. Louis and beg that we not move forward with eminent domain, but they put it on the market and they sold it. Mm-hmm. So now what is next with that? That's why when looking at the RAM settlement funds, it's imperative that we invest a large chunk of those in downtown. We have a vacancy rate right now of 23%. It's a huge, huge problem for our community, much higher than the national average. And not only that, but the rents for our downtown commercial space haven't moved in a decade. This is a huge problem and should be a wake-up call. And for those of us who don't live in downtown, and that makes up the majority of our residents, a successful city has a flourishing downtown that subsidizes the function of the rest of the community. It's the beacon that visitors come and often, is the reason why people are visiting our communities. And I think it's imperative that we get serious about it.
9 PBS and St. Louis Magazine engage citizens in St. Louis about what issues are most important to them during this mayoral election. To see more of what the candidates had to say and read the full transcripts of the interviews, visit 9pbs.org/elections. This program is supported in part by the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation.